YouTube. This is Frank, and this is Sunday, April the 5th, 2020, and this is my 16th video and my 10th topical video. And today's topic is ventilator logistics coordination. Now, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has been requesting ventilators for his state, and I wanted to model the epidemic in New York State. And I went back and I checked my work. That's very, you need to go back and check your work. If I made a mistake, I need to go back and correct it. So I went back and looked at my spreadsheet, and I found a mistake. I did make an error. In video 4, if you go back and look, I made a mistake. This right here, I made a mistake. I did not multiply the constant times the susceptible times the infected. And same thing here. I did not multiply. I did not multiply that constant times the susceptible times the infected, and that makes a big difference. I am freaking out. I ran my numbers again, and I am freaking out. When I listen to Dr. Fauci on the TV when he does his interview, he never gives his numbers, but he sounds very concerned. He doesn't say this is the end of the world, but it's very bad. So what I did was I went, this past Saturday, I went back, I checked my work, I found my error, I corrected my error, and then I wanted to look at Governor Cuomo's request for ventilators. In Oregon, they sent some ventilators to New York because they were thinking their peak for ventilators was going to occur after New York, and I wanted to model that. And I found my error, and so now I'll show you what I found. Oops. And this is my Raspberry Pi. Oops, that's my Raspberry Pi. It has been running the whole time. The other thing now, if you remember in my other videos, the CDC was not reporting Saturday and Sunday numbers, but now when I go over there and visit their page, they are updating the numbers for Saturday and Sunday. So I wanted to point that out. There's like March the 31st for that, but not. So let's go back over here. Let's see. I don't want to do that. my spreadsheets. Now I updated my spreadsheets because I wanted to model the New York City the New York City ventilator needs. So over here, okay, I modeled, okay, New York City, I estimated the population was 9 million, and I'm looking at buckets of 100,000. If you look at the page for New York City, they actually show buckets of 100,000. They show, cases per 100,000. So I think I'm okay with that. So I'll have 90 buckets. So this is, a bucket of 100,000 people. So I wanted to figure out how many ventilators we needed and how many ICU beds we needed. And actually, I think it turns out that we need half the number of ventilators that we have of ICU beds. So that is calculated from the affected. Now also, since I have I found my error in my calculations. Let's see. Now I put the my assumptions here on this line. This is April the 3rd, I think. April 3rd. Let me look. April 3rd. This is my assumptions that I made on April the 3rd. The death rate is 0.05. Now I'm using a 10-day window, so that's why I have the 0.0005. Same with the death rate. I mean the severe rate. That's the number or the percentage that should go to the ICU, and half of that number is going to the we'll need a ventilator. So that's now. So whenever I calculate that, I figure that the peak infection rate, let's go down here. Oops. Peak infection. That's about right here. So if I were to go back here, okay, I mean if I use the numbers that I see, the numbers that I'm observed, May the 4th is the peak. Well, it's the peak number of cases that I need ventilators. Let's see, is that right? May the 4th, May the 5th. Oops, May the 5th. I'm sorry, May the 5th. That's that will be the date that I need the peak number of ventilators. Actually, now if that's a 10-day window, so if I now if the average need for a ventilator is 20 days or longer, 2 or 3 weeks, that's going to actually double the number of ventilators. So let's go over here. So for the population of New York City, that will be approximately 15,000 ventilators. And then for the population of New York, you double that, that'll be 30,000 ventilators. So that's kind of in the area that Governor Cuomo is requesting, 30 to 40,000 ventilators. So that checks out. The next thing I was looking at was when I was doing I was going back and calculating my for Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, the hot spots in my area in the South. Now, Governor Kemp, I think his spokesman was claiming that the media was using a exaggerated model for the death rate and the need for ventilators. And I kind of disagree with Governor Kemp and his spokesman. I am using a 0.5% death rate. That's just 5 times the normal flu death rate. I'm using 2.8% as the need for patients in the ICU, and that is not, and half of those patients will need a ventilator. Now, that is not an exaggeration in any means. I mean, when we go back and look at my simple algebra video, where reported cases times 6 would be the true number of cases, and reported cases times 20%, that's the number of critical cases, and reported cases times 3%, that's the death rate. Now that's not, I mean, over here, that's what I am using in my model is, much different from these numbers here in the reported cases. I'm using 6 times less because this is a novel virus. There's no herd immunity. There is no vaccination. There is no treatment for these cases of the virus. So, okay, so now I wanted to make sure, and that Governor Cuomo, now he has looked at his models. He's found a peak for New York City, and Oregon, the state of Oregon, has simulated their need for ventilators. They found that it's later than New York. So when New York is past their peak, they can send the ventilators back to Oregon or whichever states that are needing the ventilators. And I think that is what is lacking in our national response to the coronavirus. There's no logistics coordination above the governors. I mean, the governors are getting together, deciding when their peaks. They're looking at their experts, looking at when their peaks are, and shipping the ventilators in between the states. I mean, there is no government, there's no federal logistics coordination. That is, I mean, that is a failure in leadership right there. That is, I mean, well, okay. So let me go back. Okay. So this is my, for New York City, this was what I simulated. For New York City, let's see here now. Let me go over here to my, I am simulating about 24,000 deaths in New York City alone with my corrected algorithm. Now if I go over here to Georgia, I am in Georgia. Apparently the governor of Georgia does not know how to use differential equations. So if I go over here, in Georgia alone, we are simulating 45,000 deaths by August. 45,000 deaths by August, if everything is the same in Georgia. Now let's go over here to Florida. Let's see, that's Georgia, Florida. Okay. Where's it starting to level out at here? By August the 1st, we are simulating 90,000 deaths in Florida. That is incredible. Incredible numbers. Okay, so let's get out of here. Now let's look at I've got one for the USA. Let's see, where's that one at? Let's see. USA. Oops. Okay, let's see now. And this is for the United States. Again, I am not using some death rate that's some kind of no, I'm using the 0.05% death rate. So let's look at for the United States. Now I'm using 350 30 million for the population. I've changed that to make sure I'm kind of in the ballpark. Now, Dr. Fauci warned today that we should expect scary numbers in the deaths. I am showing 1.5 million deaths in the middle of June. That is scary. That is scary. You notice Dr. Fauci, he never gives a number. He just assumes. Well, he says given the infection rate and the interaction rate, that's what the models will predict. And we are predicting 1.5 million deaths by the middle of June. That is incredible. Incredible. I mean, last month, in the middle of, 1st of March, the epidemiologists and the scientists were freaking out. Now I understand why those guys were freaking out. I corrected my model. Here's my model. Here's standard, the standard susceptible, infected, recovered model. I corrected and I found my mistakes. I found my error. And this is incredible. 1.5 million deaths by the middle of June. And I am not using some kind of, from Governor Kemp, no, I am not using some kind of fantastic death rates. No, I am using a 0.5% death rate for the true cases. And I am assuming that the true cases are the reported cases times 6. This is incredible. Incredible. So we'll see what happens, but this is incredible. Okay, let me, before I have a stroke, okay, let me, okay. I put all of my work in my public directory. If you want to look at my work, I have got it in a directory right here. There's my my awk code, and these are my spreadsheets that created. That is free. You can just tell me what I did wrong. Now, if I were to go to the White House and try to find out what model they used, they do not tell you what model they used to predict the number of deaths, and they do not tell you what time they predict the number of deaths. This is incredible. We have a national crisis, a health crisis on our hands, and we can't find out what model, what parameters that the White House used predict the deaths. And this is incredible. I mean, using my simple model for the U.S., let's see. $1.5 million deaths. That is incredible. I mean, I'm freaking out. I am freaking out. I mean, well, okay, that's enough for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll do another one. We'll update and see what happens.